na 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 na
Square
na
round
na.
You know, you need to tune in if you want to hear So we Chad, Josh, Dmitri, and Marcus every Friday.
It's the Square Round Table.
Tune in.
It's the Square Round Table podcast. Tune in every Friday. Let's have a blast. I know at work you had a long day. Just relax and tune in.
Make sure you tune in weekly, every Friday. MajorsOnMusic.com. We also tune on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. So yeah.
What's going on, my freaks and geeks, man? We are the Square Roundtable podcast. We were just talking a little bit before, guys. We're going to try not to fangirl out too much. We've already been doing it, and we're just going to try to get through tonight, guys, because we have a very special guest. Tonight's guest is literally responsible for introducing the world's most memorable video game characters ever. And this is including Scorpion, Subzero, Noob, Saibot, and last but not least, Johnny Cage. Guys, please welcome the legendary martial arts master and literally, guys, the co-creator of Mortal Kombat, Mr. Daniel Pesina. Give it up, guys. Give it up.
Thank you. Thank you. Good intro. Great intro.
Thank you. I had so much fun writing it. As I'm writing it, I'm like, am I seriously about to do this tonight? So yes, Mr. Pesina, like I said, it's such a pleasure having you. Thank you again for coming on the show. Like we're really excited. 100%.
Oh yes. Thanks for having me, and thanks for your time, and thanks for the viewers who make this possible, tuning into us. It's a Monday night. You're stuck at home or at work, and they tune into us. And thanks for joining in, peeps.
Awesome. Yeah, they love it, man. We definitely can't wait to put this one out. But I wanted to ask you, because I asked all my guests that come on the show, just as a little check, mental health, trying to see how everything is going. How's stuff been going for you? Because the last year, everybody's been inside, quarantining. How has that been for you? How have you been holding up?
For me, it's been okay. It's been interesting because as a martial art teacher, I'm usually very hands-on with students. But luckily, I know 28 different weapons. So this year has been the year of doing different weapons.
That's what's up. That's cool. I bet the students really enjoy that, though.
Yeah, they really do. Especially, we've been doing a lot of rope dart, which is a weapon I put into Mortal Kombat, Scorpion's weapon. So
sick.
Yeah, so a lot of the students are just yelling, "Get over here!" all the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're being taught, and two, these are like grown men and women. One is 65 years old, and she is goofing around with the rope dart and she's pretty good. And once in a while, she'll look at me, and then she'll shoot it at me and say, "Get over here." And
that's so cool.
Oh man,
it is so crazy. It is really funny. It never gets old.
No, I can only imagine. That's got to be crazy to have literally Johnny Cage and Scorpion as your martial arts instructor. You can't beat that. That's so cool.
Yeah. So it's crazy. And two, as I say, get over here, I'd like to give a shout out to Rich DeVizio, who created the phrase "get over here." So I always like whenever I use it, I want to give him credit. It's not, I didn't create "get over here." I did put the rope dart, Scorpion's weapon, in the game, but that "get over here" is totally Rich DeVizio's creation.
Awesome. Definitely. We appreciate that. Definitely a big shout out. And how long have you been teaching?
I taught at my master's school for a while, but I gave up my day job in 2000 to just teach full time. Wow. Yeah, I was just like, man, I don't want to work for somebody else anymore. Little did I know that I would wind up working for a while, even more hours than I would have working. Even now, some of my mornings start out like I have to be at the school at 6 a.m. So I get up at like 6 a.m. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But I get to take a nap every day.
That's good.
There
you go.
There you go. It is. It works out.
That's good. That's good. And you teach. One thing that I wanted some more information on, basically, as far as like your teaching style, like what in general is the philosophy of Wushu Kung Fu? And also, what is the difference between internal and external martial art?
Good question. Because Wushu just means martial art. Wu means war. Shu means art or play. So literally, if you study in China, if you say, they will say, "Oh, you do Japanese wushu." If they hear Tang Sudo, they're like, "Oh, Korean wushu." So wushu is just like an umbrella. I know a lot of people have like made it into a particular style, but really it just means martial art. So there's traditional martial arts and contemporary martial arts. And the contemporary martial arts is very theatrical and more towards performance based. So a lot of people call that wushu, which is correct, but also the old stuff is also called wushu or kung fu. Wushu and kung fu, you could have kung fu in your wushu, but because you do wushu, that doesn't necessarily mean you have kung fu, because kung fu means skill and time. So if you're a good chef, you have kung fu. If you're good with computers, you have kung fu. If you're good at what you do, good golfer, you have kung fu. So with that. And then as far as like internal and external are two, in the old days, you could not study internal like Tai Chi unless you did at least 14 years of external. So you would have to do 14 years of Shaolin or 14 years of Tiger or Family Style or something like that. And then you could study Tai Chi. Yeah. So, and that's the old days. And external just means it's, how can you explain it? External is more like, because they're both physical, they're both martial arts. So they're all for fighting. In the end, that's all it's about. Somebody's ego and you got to fight. And really quick, one time I asked my master, what's the best? And he goes, you know what the best is? And then I was like, what? And he's come over here. And I was like, what? And he goes, when the enemy is coming in, get on top of a really big rock and pile boulders. And when they come, throw down the boulders on them. That's the best.
The boulder smash them.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's the best is whoever goes home. Whoever didn't survive is not the best.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, so,
a lot of sense.
Yeah, so external worries about your being the physical part, because you do need the physical part to do martial arts. You need to have you don't have to be in the best shape, but you do have to be able to do some push-ups, some sit-ups, be able to punch the bag for a while. But internal martial art really focuses on physics, the structure of you personally. So its goal is to take you and the way you are, however you are at that moment, and have you throw a technique as perfectly as you can. It has nothing to do with me, have nothing to do with you. So everything is like very individualized with internal martial arts.
Okay.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really the art of martial arts.
So as far as you're concerned, I wanted to know what was your introduction to martial arts?
I have 3 brothers. One is famous, one is Ray. He's my youngest brother.
Right.
The other 2 are older brothers. But my older brothers always goof around and say myself and my younger brother are the second honeymoon brothers, because they're about 8 years older than me, my 2 older brothers. And I am 7 or 8 years older than my younger brother, Carlos. So they always tease us we're the exes. But anyway, we're brothers. We like to wrestle and stuff like that. Because they're substantially older than me, they're always beating me. So one day when I was like 7 years old, I was watching TV with my dad, and it's black and white TV. We had a black and white TV for a long time. Color TVs, we couldn't get a color TV. We had to watch black, because the black and white TV was not broken. It's still good. So, I'm in the living room watching TV with my dad, and I'm watching this series on Sunday. It's called Charlie Chan the Detective, and he would solve mysteries. This pudgy guy would solve these mysteries. But during one episode, I saw him do a judo throw. And I was like, man, if I learned that, I could beat up my older brothers. So I just started bugging my dad about taking lessons. So I bugged him for a really long time, until I was 10 years old. And he took me in, and he was like, man, I got to take this guy into lessons. He won't stop bothering me.
So that sounds like something my younger brother would do. That sounds exactly like Joshua.
Yeah. I was finna say, thank God my brother didn't do that, because I used to beat on him all the time.
Yeah. I actually used to go on YouTube all the time and try to learn karate moves and try to use them on Chad. So, I'm guilty.
If he's not beating me in Mortal Kombat, he's trying to do it in real life, Mr. Pesina. So it's, I'm just doing from both ends. Exactly.
and that's cool, Mr. Pesina, how you said that about how you watch Kung Fu, and that's what got you into it. Because I just got into it because like the old like Kung Fu movies, the Five Element Ninjas, the Daily Assassins, of course Bruce Lee, the old Jackie Chan movies.
Yes.
And it's crazy because when I was in elementary school, I had the coolest math teacher. Shout out to Mr. Farrell. He used to show us Kung Fu movies because he liked them too. So whenever we had like time in between class, he would show us. So it was crazy when I found Mortal Kombat because I was like, oh, this is like the Kung Fu movies and they have the violence. So I was like, I'm down for this all the way. But of course, we had to figure out how we could play it. That's Mortal Kombat is part of my whole Kung Fu thing too. So that's so cool how you seen it, and that's like kind of my experience too with it.
Yes, great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that video game really made a big family. Mortal Kombat is really more like a family. When we share stories with, because too, I was a geek when I was younger. My brother introduced me to comics, so I was into comics like when I was younger, in video games. Even my brothers bought Pong with the joystick.
Oh man, the Atari.
The only flipping game out then, but I would play for hours, geek playing that. But we do share that experience. Mortal Kombat for us has a very similar experience. Besides the basics, hiding from your mom, making sure you don't get caught, running over to your friend's house, hanging out in the basement, playing Mortal Kombat, hoping you won't get caught, playing with your friends all the time and loving the fatalities. All that stuff is just, the whole group who helped create it were really fans of old-fashioned Kung Fu movies and comics.
Wow.
Yeah.
One thing that I also thought was interesting about Mortal Kombat, is it true that you guys, that the video game rating system wasn't really what it is until you guys came along?
Yeah, it wasn't, we didn't mean to make the most violent video game. When John approached me for help, we were just going to do 200 arcade cabinets. And he was just like, I want the Kung Fu. He goes, right now there's fighting games, but nobody does a fighting game where the people really know how to fight. And he goes, and I don't want to do just a walkthrough mainstream fighting game. I want to do one-on-one fighting, like the Kung Fu movies and because I knew John beforehand, we would go sometimes to the movie theater and we would pay one admission for watching 3 Kung Fu movies.
Sounds like my dad, yeah.
Yeah, so we would be doing that together as a group. So he was like, man, I want to do it just like that with the blood. I remember that we were talking about Lone Wolf and Cub. Remember that when they kept that on?
Shogun Assassin.
Yeah, we just watched that.
The blood is coming out for a half an hour. You're like, oh,
yes.
We wanted to put all that stuff in a video game.
Wow.
So blood was always the mission, was to have it as bloody as possible. It's just like, there's not enough blood, add more.
Yeah.
No, like Daniel, you wouldn't like. My dad would flip out right now. Like the fact that we're referencing Shogun Assassin, because he, like I said, it reminds me of my dad because he would tell us about that all the time. He's like, yeah, back in New York, me and my friends, we'd pay and go see 3-4 Kung Fu movies at one time. And he pulled me and Joshua to the side, like not even a couple months ago. And he was just like, hey, you have to watch Lone Wolf and Cub, Shogun Assassin. This is like the best movie ever. And it's crazy. Like that, like you said, the blood squirting out the neck. And then the little baby in the basket, the little knives that come out the side. Oh my gosh. It is the craziest movie ever. For all of our viewers and listeners out there, yes, definitely go out there, watch Lone Wolf and Cub, Shogun Assassin. It's so good.
Yeah. Those are classics. 5 Deadly Venoms, all those movies. Even when we wanted to pull things from, when we were pitching the game to Ed and Midway, we were talking about Fist of the North Star, because in Fist of the North Star, they had where you hit the guy and then it showed the X-ray of the guy. Even back then for the first game, we wanted X-rays. We thought about tag teams. Man, we had every character would have 3 fatalities. It was, we were trying to push the limits just to have a cool game. We thought we were only making 200 games, so we never thought that anybody would really pay attention to it. We just wanted to make a really cool game.
Wow, and you
And you
definitely
succeeded.
did.
Yeah,
I was
you
like,
succeeded.
You nailed it. You nailed it.
Because no one was putting out a game like Mortal Kombat back at that
I'm
time,
telling you.
at all. So that it took the world by storm.
Yeah, and it still holds up
definitely,
so
but-
well.
Yeah.
It does.
Even though,
but-
even the first one, I still go to these little. We have little bars and stuff down here where they have old arcade games in there. And the first one I run to is Mortal Kombat, and I still get my behind kicked. And I'm 30 years old, and I still haven't mastered it. So that just shows you that game did what it was supposed to do.
And it was
Yeah,
relentless.
yeah.
Yeah, it's always fun to just play. I don't know all the special moves. I'm not that great at it, but man, it's when I'm playing somebody, they're the most of the time I get my butt whooped, but I don't mind it at all because we are just cracking up.
That's cool.
There's nothing like I'm going to talk like we're old guys, but there's nothing like playing next to a person, having that experience of now we're all playing online and stuff like that. But man, when you used to play in person, man, it was like some heavy stuff, man.
Yeah, you gain and lose friendships because
and you trash talk like crazy.
Yeah,
you trash
man.
talking. Oh, that's
But look, you put your quarter up. Let them know that I'm next.
Beat them off the sticks and whatnot.
People get mad. I'm not talking to you for a while.
Oh, I'm telling you, man. Go to school the next day. We be mad at each other.
Talk about that was disrespectful. You didn't gotta do me like that. That was disrespectful.
Seriously, that's why it's such a big deal for me because that's how that's me and Joshua's history, man. That's how we bonded. I remember I used to play when I was a little kid. I used to play video games by myself, and once Joshua got to the age where he can understand stuff, and I wasn't lying to him and putting because your little brother wants the controller and you give him the one that's
plug it up. You don't plug it up. Yeah.
Yes.
I remember.
So when he finally got to the age where he can understand stuff, that was our game, Mr. Pesina, Mortal Kombat, man. We played, oh my gosh, like we would play that game into the ground, and that's all of it. That's our history right there.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And Chad never wins.
I do sometimes. One thing, and Joshua's being really nice right now, but I'm gonna tell you a little secret. Johnny Cage is his favorite character, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm really trying to just keep my lid on.
And it's funny. It's funny you said that, Chad, because my younger brother, that was his favorite character. So it's crazy how like we match up with so many things. Because my brother, I'm picking Johnny Cage. I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick Scorpion. So it don't matter. Let's go. Because he didn't know how to do none of the moves. So I said, okay, let's go.
All they wanted to do was punch you in the nuts.
That's it.
Yeah,
and he didn't know how to do it, and it was so funny. And Mr. Pesina, the funny thing about that is, I just learned how to do that move on the original one last year. I just learned it.
Yeah. No, that's the only move. That's the only move to do. Like I learned that move the first time, and I just kept using it. It always works.
When you use it, it's just humiliating on the person. You know, sure, the other one could freeze you, or the other one could use the rope dart, and you come over, get uppercut. But when you get hit in the nuts, man,
it makes you want to throw. It makes you want to throw the controller down. It really does. Like it's,
or just get straight up mad. Be like, you ain't gotta do that.
Exactly.
But yeah, Mr. Pesina, you mentioned there were all the people that portrayed the characters were actual martial artists.
Yeah. Too, because we were when John approached me, he was like, I can't pay you, but you could help create the game and things like that. But he was like, hey, do you have any friends who would work for really cheap? And right away I was like, yeah, we could get Tony Marquez, we could get a Ho-Sung Pak. Rich was already there, who's Kano. My brother was there at the meeting too, Raiden meeting. So we were already talking about getting other people to come in on it. So basically in the first and mostly the second, I just got my friends to come in and do the game.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I just love how even then, like I said, the original Mortal Kombat, it ages really well. It's such a sophisticated game, and for the time that you guys created it, And what did you know a lot about the pixelation like animation before the game? Like what was like some of the early days of that? What did that look like, that whole process?
And he had no idea. So John is just, again, after first we pitched the game to Midway, and originally they said no, that they're going to try to go with somebody who came up with a different idea to have a game with Van Damme. So they're going to cancel. They canceled Mortal Kombat. It didn't have a name, and they were going to go with a mainstream fighting game. So when that fell through, John was like, okay, hey, we're going to go back to the first idea, the original idea of having Mortal Kombat. Come to my work. And I'm like, oh, what do I got to do? He's like, I don't know. Come to my work and we'll figure it out. So I show up and he's got his dad's video camera. So it's not even like a professional camera. It's his dad's small Hi8 video camera consumer. He's got a sheet of paper and it says high, medium, low. And that's it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And so it's pretty funny because he sets up the camera, he looks at me and he's doing something cool. And I kind of looked at him. I was like, okay, you know what I mean? And so like for the first day, we just shot, like for 8 hours, we just shot Kung Fu moves. Not only to, what's in the game, but we were like doing Kung Fu, praying mantis. I would do snake, I would do tiger. I would do, this is leopard fist, hit like this, use the elbow head. So we were trying to make it look like a Kung Fu movie. And after that day, we came back again and he's like, okay, we're going to try to do the kicking. So then we spent the whole day just doing different kicks, looking at the video, saying, okay, let's try jump kicks. So we did 8 hours of that. And the third time we met, I was like, hey, how did the tape turn out? And he was just like, we can't use any of it. And I was like, what? And he's like, when you get close to the camera, you're bigger. When you come away from the camera, you're smaller. And so I was like, we got to mark the floor. And he goes, you mark the floor, I'll mark where I put the tripod. So that way we can have the same, come back the next day and have that. Let's start all over, but let's also simplify the moves. Don't make them so complicated. And then he showed me some of the video. And because of the camera, like if you threw a punch and you threw a spear hand, the resolution made it look like almost like a punch anyway. So automatically we started taking note of what would work and what would not. If you did a tiger claw like this, it looked like a regular palm. So we were just like, we just started taking notes of what techniques we could possibly put in the game. Then on the fourth day, we come back and somebody took up the tape. So everything we shot for the day before, we couldn't use it again because we didn't know where to start because the tape wouldn't match to the next tape.
Oh, no.
So here we are, we're starting all over, but we had a better idea. We were like, we have to film reactions. Every move that we do, I got to figure out a reaction. But because I'm a geek, it wasn't like every move would have a different reaction. So I was just like, okay, if I get hit in the face like soft, I'm going to go like this. So we filmed that for a while. So if I get hit in the face harder, I'm going to go like this. And if I get faced in the face really hard, I drop my hand and go like this and then come forward. So we just John was like, that's cool. We should use that. And so we did that, but we started doing that for everything. If you get kicked in the stomach, you have 3 reactions. If you get kicked in the face, 3 reactions. If you could get kicked in the leg, 3 reactions. We had 3 throws. We had 3 of everything. But it was just a lot of experimenting, just trying to see what the parameters, pushing the parameters. When we started, there was only overhead lighting. I couldn't, sorry for taking up all the time. So John don't jump, goes, when somebody sweeps your leg, because we were like, John was like, let's sweep. And I was like, here's the Karate Kid sweep. And I looked at it and I was like, you know what? You can't do that. That doesn't look like anything. And so I thought, and I was like, let me try Kung Fu ground sweep. And so I tried some with my knee on the floor, some without my knee on the floor, some sweeping with both legs, one leg to have a double sweep and just goofing around with that. And then for those things, we wanted reactions. So I would jump over the leg. And John is like, you're jumping too high. Because when you jump high, the light makes this part darker. So this part is all dark and everything has to be even. And so jump lower. So I'm like, jump lower. So I'm jumping lower. And then John is, but you got to tuck your legs because the sweep will come through. And if it touches your legs, you'll get a reaction. That's not jumping over the legs. You're getting swept. And so I was like, So I'm trying to jump, not high, but tuck my legs really tight. And we did that 50 times. And finally, John was like, can you jump slower? And I'm like, dude, you want me to float?
Right.
Oh, and so he starts laughing, and then I was like, I looked around and I go, what if I get on something? And that way you could take me jumping, and then I could sit on something, and I could curl up in a ball, and we could like look like I'm flipping, and then cut. You can use the part where we come down as the third image. And he's just, let's use a chair. And so I was like, no, John, if we use a chair, it's going to look like I'm sitting in the chair. There's so much thought came into the game just for that. And then I was just like, I saw a staircase, and I'm like, let me use the staircase because I can balance myself and there's less restriction. When you're jumping, you can tell a guy in the movie when he gets pulled up by a rope, by the wire, they don't look like they're jumping. So I wanted to try to avoid that in this video game, So I was like, we're going to get this frame, we're going to get the landing frame, and then when we jump, I'm going to balance myself on this staircase, and it's going to look like I am jumping and kicking or jumping and flipping, because that way we could catch a clean image. So just for that took, in order to figure that out, that might have took 2 hours.
Oh,
Just videotaping, looking at it, trying to conquer like the obstacle, just doing that over and over again and trying to do that. And then I was like, man, this staircase is going to be really good because we're all trying to, everybody's jump sidekick is going to look the same. We got to make all the jump kicks look different because every character has a different personality. So we can't really, you can act a little bit different, but it is a video game. So in order to give the characters different personalities, we had to make sure that everyone did the technique a little bit different. And that was a struggle too.
It's a lot.
You went through a lot of stuff just to get that right.
Yes.
Jeez.
Yeah. When I was falling on concrete, and I spent the whole day doing flips and falls on concrete. And then I was like, I approached John, and I'm like, John, you're gonna get these other guys in. They're not gonna want to fall on concrete. You got to get like a mat for them because they're not gonna be doing this stuff. You're not paying them that much, and then they got to jump and fall on concrete. There's no way they're not gonna do it. And so John was like, okay, we'll get a mat. We'll get a mat and use a mat to help out. And we worked on the game like that, 8 to 10 hours a day for 6 days. And then on the 6th day, John was like, okay, we're ready. We've got to start this thing. So let's get Ed in, and Ed's going to tell us how we're going to take these moves that we came up with and put them into the game.
Wow. That is so cool.
That is really cool. That's like
that is awesome.
Man.
No, that's really ridiculous, and that's before even factoring in the fatalities. Was that an original thought when you guys came into it? Did you know that you wanted to end the game with a fatality, or was that something that came on later in the thought process?
So one time when John and I were filming the stuff like that, and we're filming filming reactions. So one of the reactions is John, get to the point where you're done. So I'm trying to do this thing where it loops, where I'm just like this when you finish him like that. But John's looking at this, and John is like, this is dumb. And I was like, what? And we can't have just end like the guys just standing there like that. He goes, no, nobody ends a fight like that. He goes, in the Kung Fu movie, they have the killing blow. He goes, we got to figure out how to do a finishing blow. We got to figure out a way to finish him. You need to finish him. And so that's where that whole idea of finish him came in. So I was just like, he was like, what do you want to do? How do you want to kill this guy? So the very first fatality ever, I wanted to jump up in the air and put my fist through the guy's, hit him like this, come out the other end. And then when he looks at the camera, he has a hole in his head. So that's the first fatality ever. So we filmed it. And then John is like, that's way too complicated. He goes, for the memory, for this memory in this game and that game, he was like, we're not going to be able to do that. What's another one? Think of another one. Maybe we'll have 3. We should put 3 fatalities. If we have time, we'll put this one in. And I was like, okay, what if? And then I thought, what if the guy drops to his knees and then I just give him a brutality? I just beat this wail on him. And then all of a sudden I end it and I uppercut him and his head pops off. And then so we filmed that. And then John is like, what do you want to be the third one? And I was like, it would really just be cool to just boom, you hit the guy and just take his head right off. So, so that was how that whole finishing fatalities came in.
And even to this day, like that is still so satisfying.
Yes.
Like I love it too. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like just doing a combo and then finishing and knocking somebody's head off. That's the best feeling in the world.
It is.
Man,
When you're just able
mean-
to get off the fatality, when you're able to actually put the actual move in the on the controller, you just did it and you get it off.
Yeah.
It's so satisfying. Back when we first started Mortal Kombat, it'd just be like, oh, I didn't get it off. Darn, I'm gonna do it next time. And then you get it off finally after like 500 times. You're like, I finally got it off.
Yeah, very gratifying.
Yeah.
No, it really is. So thank you for that.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Because I'm the disrespectful guy that likes to use the brutality of knocking their head off instead of the fatality. But so I get a lot of lack for that, but that's me.
Warrior, man. Get it done.
Yeah.
But one thing go ahead, Josh. What's up, man?
Oh yeah, well, I was gonna ask, whose idea was it to make it complicated to do the fatality, like with the input and such?
Actually, the input of the fatality, it was Ed. Ed was like, he was like, it can't just be easy to do this. He goes, because you have a joystick and you have buttons and it's limited. You're already pushing buttons to get different hits and low sweep with the toggles and stuff like that. So he was just like, it's got to be rewarding, and you have to figure out how to do these movements. Two, it was all about the quarters, because they knew that they were like, kids aren't going to get it all right away. He goes, but once they see it done, everybody's going to want to do it. Everybody's going to into the machine. They got it together for that.
I had a question about, because like I said, the game in general is just like, it's really a masterpiece, because not only is the fighting styles like in the finishers and all of that's really sophisticated, but also every character has a, like you were saying, distinct personality. And even Johnny Cage and all the ninjas, like they have a specific way of fighting that's pretty much been the same since the first game. So I wanted to know, what was the process and the inspiration for the creation of Johnny Cage and the ninja characters that you portray? For the
Lin Kuei, so for the game, after John called my mom's house, and I spoke to him at my mom's house, we went in and John had some drawings, and we did a video presentation of myself, Kano, and Raiden fighting, so that way he could present the drawings and show the company what the game would look like live people fighting. So I set up some choreography, some fight scenes for us, and so we did that. So John presented that, and then a couple days later, John called me up and says, "Hey, they were really interested in doing a fighting game. They liked our idea, I can't remember the exact words, but at that point, they want to hear a final pitch. So bring your best ideas. You're going to meet a representative from the company, and we have to pitch this game to them, and we got to pitch it and come." And John really wanted to do this game. This is his idea. It's his baby. So he was just like, bring your best idea. So we show up, and that's the first time I met Ed Boon. Like, we're pitching this game to Ed Boon. So I was just like, John, if we want to make this game really cool, we should not. At the time, John wanted to do Japanese ninjas. It's the whole Shokashugi 90s Japanese ninja thing. And I was like, it would be way cooler if we did the Lin Kuei. And John is, what? And I was like, there's a group of Chinese ninjas known as the Lin Kuei, and they are not only ninjas, but they put Chinese mysticism, alchemy and stuff into the ninjutsu. And they dress totally different than the Japanese ninjas. They got this armor on. And so later on, I went with him and bought a book that I got like the idea out of. But that's one of the things that I put in the game was the Lin Kuei, and the way John added the colors, but the basic way they look is like what I wanted in the game. John was just like, because again, he wasn't paying us enough. He wasn't paying us. And the agreement was we can put whatever we want in the game. And I wanted the Lin Kuei and the way they looked in the game. And I thought that would be a good thing, because again, there's nothing wrong with Shokashugi or anything like that, but I just wanted it to be different. You want to create something different. I don't want to do what everybody else is doing. I want to do something different. That was one of the main things for that one, is everybody who in the first game who did their character, really, they didn't, like John and Ed didn't tell them what to do. They created it. Yeah, like Sonia, Liz Malecki, Sonia was like, guys, I could do this back bend and flip back. And I want to put this in the game. How do we use that? So we just sat around and thought of ideas. And finally, they were like, John, it'd be cool if she's there because she could do it quick. And it'd be cool if she just reaches over with the legs and then flips you over. They would be like, okay, she contributed that to the game, to her personality. It wasn't like, it was easier just to do whatever we wanted than to think of something. Two, it's a video game. We're only doing 200. There's not a lot of thought into that process. These guys were just like, yeah, dude. And I think that's why, in the end, that's why it turned out so well, because they would just okay, I'm the martial art guy. I do all the martial arts. And I tell everybody, okay, we already did that, do something else. I help them create different moves out of their characters. You know, besides John and Ed creating the characters, I can literally say that every character has something I gave them. We had difficulty. Wow. Yeah, we had difficulty when you're down and you get up back on your feet. Raiden couldn't do that without his head flying off. So John was getting really frustrated. And then I looked at John and John, isn't he a god? He doesn't need to kip up. He could just teleport up. He's a god. John is like, man, that would solve the whole problem. We were filming that for 2 hours, man, trying to get the head to stay on. We're trying to put it on. We tried to use tape to keep it on his head. Like even with Kano, the mask that they were looking at a different mask, and Rich wanted the Kano mask. And then Rich sweats a lot. So when we put the mask on with spirit glue, it wouldn't stay. So we used regular glue to put the mask on Rich's face. When it came off, it took skin.
Oh,
yeah. So two, he would just, okay, what do you want to do, Rich? Johnny Cage already did that. Let's do something different. Let's do that. Let's do this. Again, with every character, kiss of death. Sonia's kiss of death. John was like, what do you want to do for the kiss of death? And I was like, John, it'd be really cool if she goes like this, blows it, looks like a butterfly, but when it hits you, it blows up. And John was like, that sounds really cool. Yeah, cool. Kiss of death. And when I look at Sonia see the kiss of death, I'm like, yeah, I created that.
That's so crazy.
John created the artwork and Ed programmed it, but I created that concept. I created that concept. I created some of the other things from some of the other characters. Each of the characters from 1 and 2 have a little bit of me in them.
Wow.
Wow.
That is a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. But but with that said, I have to ask Mr. Pesina, did you create the bicycle kick?
No, Ho Sung actually from Jet Li movies.
Oh,
yeah. Once Upon a Time in China has Jet Li kicking like that.
Yeah, I saw that.
The one fei hung kick.
Oh,
doing the one fei hung kick. So Ho Sung was like, oh, I want to do a kick like that. So he did that. The only thing I helped Ho with mainly was, again, making, Rich already does it like that, a technique like that. Don't do it like this. Let's try to do this. Let's try to do this. And then Ho Sung would add his own flair to it. So, as I said, most of those other guys had a big part in creating the personalities and stuff like that. Any character comes after the second Mortal Kombat is no disrespect, but those guys are actors. The guys in the first game, people don't have any idea that they really, and understand that it's the company, they own the rights to the stuff. A lot of the actors don't get enough credit, as usual.
Yeah,
that's pretty usual, right?
Yeah,
I just love how much of a family you guys have for those first 2 games. That's so cool. I had no idea. Even going into this, I had no idea it was like that. With you guys just literally putting your own life into these characters. That's crazy. That's so cool.
Yeah,
and it's fun. It's funny because I'm a big behind the scenes guy because film is my background. So I always watch anything behind the scenes to see how stuff was made. And I was watching those videos and just seeing it, but it didn't have sound or nothing. So I was just seeing it. So to hear you tell the story, and now I can put that image, with what I saw, and you telling it, it's blowing my mind right now because it was so awesome the way they were doing it. Yes. Chad, y'all, if y'all ever watch it, exactly what he's telling us, that's exactly what they did, and it's amazing, man. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was a really work of love. And as I said, John Tobias was always, he would just wanted to create a kick-ass fighting game like us. So any idea that he would hear, he'd be like, that's a good idea. Let's use that. And then if somebody else added, like an example is for Scorpion, Tobias was like, hey, can I swear?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So John Tobias is, I want Scorpion to have a flamethrower breath, blow flames out of it. So I go like this, I'm acting like I'm blowing flames, and I look at John and I go, John, I'm not doing this. And then he's like, why? And he goes, because the mask and the hood are made of cotton. My whole head will be on fire. And he's like, don't be an asshole. Pull down the mask and blow the fire. I do it a couple times. And then Rich DeVizio, Kano, looks at us and that would be cool if he took off his mask like he was a skeleton. Because Rich DeVizio, Kano, is even to this day deathly afraid of skeletons. He doesn't like skeletons. Out of all the horror movies, Freddy, he's not afraid of Freddy. He's not afraid of Jason. He's not afraid of any monster. He is afraid of skeletons. So when he was like, oh, it's a skeleton. And then I was like, and his head's on fire like Ghost Rider. Oh, and we all laughed, but John was like, yeah, I'm going to do that, man. So the creative process wasn't just, it would just be us goofing around. Who's going to tell the boss, hey, I'm not going to do that. I'm just trying to be a smartass, really. But it turned out to be a great idea.
Yes, a really great idea.
Yes. No, it definitely works 100%. And that's another good point actually you made about Scorpion, and it gave a vibe of like Ghost Rider a little bit. Now you were talking about earlier how you were a comic book fan, and contrary to popular belief, if I'm not wrong, didn't Johnny Cage and Jax have comic book origins too as far as their creations?
Yeah, that when we started it, naturally we had this game before the Van Damme idea. Otherwise, in my mind, they would not need me to make a videotape of me fighting to demonstrate what the fighting game, with the concept of the fighting game. They wouldn't need me to do a demonstration of it on video to explain it. And then when Van Damme came in, the company had that. But originally, Johnny Cage is known as Michael Grimm, who is modeled after Daniel Rad from Iron Fist.
Yeah.
And we took a lot out of it. John took a lot of ideas like out of those comic books. I didn't own anything that looks like Iron Fist. I just own those bicycle shorts. All the costume, like Johnny Cage's costume, came from my home. John was just like, hey, remember that drawing? Dress as close to that drawing as you can. And I'm like, the drawing looks like Iron Fist. You know what I mean? That one piece, the one piece. And I'm like, I don't have that, but I have bike shorts. It's the early 90s. It's 1990. I have bike shorts. I can wear that. And then Jax, we talked about Power Man. Also, if you look at Liu Kang in #2, he looks exactly like Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu.
Yeah.
If you play #2 again and look at it, you're going to be like, that's Shang-Chi. Right. Because we borrowed a lot of characters. I think in Iron Fist and Power Man, they have somebody who looks like Sonya. I think in a couple episodes, they have a that looks like Sonya. So now it turns out to be, in my opinion, the first crossover, because you have Marvel inspired characters in a DC game.
Yeah.
Yes, most definitely.
See, way before the the Mortal Kombat and DC games. That's crazy. That's so
crazy.
Cool.
Oh my gosh.
What were some of your favorite comics coming up, Mr. Pesina, on the vein of comic books?
Yeah, naturally, Power Man. I wanted to I got in trouble as a kid because I took my dad's chain that he used to lock up ladders, because he used to have, my dad's works on my parents' home, and they have a 2-floor home. So my dad had these really long ladders to go up on the roof, to take material up on the roof. So they don't fit in the house. So he has them strapped outside, chained to the gutters, but the chain is really thick. So one day I got the bright idea that I'm going to be Power Man, and I'm going to chop off that chain and wear it around my waist.
Oh my goodness.
And my mom catches me with a hacksaw trying to make this. She whooped my ass.
That is awesome.
So I am a Power Man fanatic. I'm a Luke Cage fanatic. I'm a Iron Fist. I have some Hulk. I have a lot of the Deadly Hands on Kung Fu, Shang-Chi, the early magazines, the big ones, not the super one. I have a lot of Daredevil. Love Daredevil.
Yes.
So, now it's all a box, one box. I still have it.
That's what's up.
That's what's up. Yeah.
That's cool. But yeah, did you have any part in creating the Mortal Kombat logo or the text?
No, as far as like the logo and text, that John had a lot to do with it. He was really, it was his thing. So he wanted to create the artwork. Even like at the last minute, he called me up at the last minute. He was like, hey, we're working on tomorrow. We're going to take photos for the side of the game. And I'm like, cool. He's like, because you helped me do this. He goes, you made this, you created this game with me. I want to put you as a thank you. I want to put you on the side of the cabinet. So I was like, what? He's like, we're going to take a picture of you and put you on the side of the cabinet. Is that okay? And I was like, I appreciate it. John was like, I appreciate everything you did for the game. Come in tomorrow, wear your Johnny Cage thing, and you're going to be on the side of the cabinet. And so that is only, so as far as like, even the names we didn't, when we were creating the characters, they didn't really have names. Raiden was Head, Kano was Rich, Liu Kang was Ho-Sung. No, Johnny Cage didn't have a name, he was Danny. I think Liz was the only one who had a name, Sonya, at that point. Later on with the other guys, we would call Kung Lao Odd Job because he threw the hat. And originally Raiden wanted to throw his hat. Yeah, so originally we have Carlos saying, oh, I'm going to take off my hat and throw it. And we were like, oh, no, don't do that. Because it would show like the costume underneath. And John wanted to keep that mysterious.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That keep it, everything shaded. Keep that mystery to that character.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. And also, so you guys create this thing and it blows up. So what is your thought process when just like Mortal Kombat is like just going crazy? Did you guys see that coming at all?
No, because we were only gonna do 200 games. When they first told me, hey, we're gonna do pre-sale, we pre-sold 10,000 games, I was like, what? Before that, when they were testing the game, John was like, I'm gonna test the game and it's gonna be Super Bowl Sunday. Nobody's gonna be in the arcade because everybody's gonna be watching Super Bowl. Everybody and watch it. So he sets up the game. A couple hours later, he says, I get this call. Something's wrong with the game. So I go in and I look around and the place is not that busy. And there's nobody around the game. And I look at the game and there's nothing wrong with the game. And then he's like, and I get an idea. I look at the coin box. So he opens the coin box, it's full. And what happens is when you can't put any more quarters in, the game shuts off because it's not making any money.
Yeah.
So it just shuts off. So he empties the coin box out and he's looking around. He's like, man, there's not that many people in here. So a couple hours later, he gets another call. There's something wrong with your game. First thing he goes in, he looks around. There's not anybody around it. Opens up the coin box and it's full. And then oh my God, this game is going to be, this is it. He goes, this is going to be it. And one day, in a few hours, it's already needs to empty twice. It's really going to be really cool. So he called me up and he said, oh my God, this happened. And I was like, oh my God, it's going to be so cool.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Man. What a time. Arcades, I miss them.
Yeah.
Seriously, I miss them too, man. It's just like you were saying earlier, Mr. Pesina, it's one thing to just to play next to somebody because everything's online right now. Like it's okay, it's fine, but you can't really get that, like you said, that feeling without playing locally with somebody. And then it's even heightened when you go to an arcade because now you're playing and then you have a huge group of people around you with noises and sounds everywhere. And oh man, that just brings back so many memories. Like I would go to this place, me and Joshua, for our birthdays up until we were like 15. We would go to this place up the street from my house, the biggest arcade I've ever gone to. It's called Dixieland. And we would play like Mortal Kombat all the time. I have the greatest memories from Dixieland. That was my favorite arcade. And it's not even the same anymore. I don't even think they don't have
it anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's crazy how that happened. I guess it's the times, but man, you just can't beat that. You can't.
Or that feeling of the old old school 2-button and the joystick thing, like that feeling, and you get mad because you're like, I moved the joystick, he's just not doing the right move.
Exactly.
Back then you don't talk smack because you don't know how tough the guy next to you is. He might be
you don't.
And he might get mad, and all of a sudden too you'd get in a fight, but all of a sudden that would be your new best friend. You'd be like, oh, okay, you get your anger out and everything. Hey, let's go try this game. Okay, let's go try this. Yeah, it was a different time. It was definitely a different time. People didn't. I remember I get stories like people bringing their coats or their dish towels in to cover their hands so people can't steal their moves. If you wanted to buy a move, you could buy a move, but they weren't going to just give you a move for free.
Yeah, that's crazy. No, it's definitely good times, man.
Oh no, all I was going to say, yeah, it still lives on, Mr. Pesina. It's one bar we have here in Atlanta, and it's actually called Joystick. That's the name of the bar. So they have vintage video games, pinball machines, and then even board games. So that's the one safe haven we have when we want to have that nostalgia.
Yeah, we got one here too called Coin Op, and it's a bar. You can drink while you play. So
exactly, it's even fun now that we're
adults. That's not bad. That's not bad. I'm on board for that stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, Mr. Pesina, one thing I've always loved about Johnny is that he fought in white tennis shoes. What was the process with giving them white tennis shoes?
They're actually, the bottom are white. They're cheap shoes that John was just hey, just wear whatever you have at home. We just try to look as much close to the drawing as you can. So I was just, whatever I bought that day was just what went into the game. They're actually black, but he wanted to make them look like Bruce Lee's shoes. You know how Bruce Lee has those black with the white thing around them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for the first one, we had that. And for the second one, those white shoes were boxing shoes. So some company was like, hey, can you sneak these into Mortal Kombat if I give you a bunch of pair? And I was like, okay. So I gave everybody a pair of shoes, but Ed caught on and took the logo off of all the shoes. So in Mortal Kombat, you see those white, and second one, you see him with the white shoes, and on the side, they're supposed to say Atomics. But Ed was like, I'm not putting that in the game unless they're paying me. He's a manager. He's going to say yes or no to stuff. I tried to sneak it in. Everybody had, in the end, I told the company, hey, we couldn't do it, but we wore the shoes. And he goes, that's good enough, because I could just tell people that you're wearing, we'll take some picture of you wearing the shoes, and everybody will know that you wore shoes for Mortal Kombat. So they're super white because they wanted to take out the logo.
Wow.
Wow.
To cut somebody for some money.
Exactly. That's how it is. So, Mr. Pesina, I wanted to know, just as one of the last things I wanted to ask you, how does it feel in general, just to see, because there's variations, but for the most part, the original idea of Mortal Kombat has completely been respected in all of the iterations. So how does it just feel to see your moves, your characters? I feel to still see them continue to captivate generations of martial arts fans everywhere.
You know what? For me, it never gets old. Even general, because too, it's that this game is 30 years old. So a lot of times people ask me a similar question, and for me, I never get tired of telling the story, because when making Mortal Kombat, I was just hanging out with my friends, having a good time, trying to create a kick-ass video game. And I don't know if they can do that now. People, a lot of times people want to be in charge of stuff that maybe they don't know that much about and should not be in charge. But back in the day, my friend had enough confidence in me to say, the martial arts you were in charge of, help me create this thing. Let's figure out how to do this thing. And in the end, we just wanted it to be kick-ass. Whenever I see it, Mortal Kombat, mostly any of them, because they keep using the ideas we had, I'm happy. I start laughing because there's so many stories of when we were making the game, how we were just goofing around, or because everybody's, oh, you're standing in front of a camera. You don't really understand, like doing the movement over and over again, looking at the move and being like, I'm not happy with that. Or what am I doing? Hey, I want to do this. Oh, no, we can't do that. Think of a different way. Oh, somebody else had already did that. You got to think of something else. So you're really trying to create something unique in a short amount of time.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
and Mr. Pesina, I gotta ask you, like, how does it feel to see that Johnny got his due and he actually saved the fighters, and then his daughter comes behind him and does the same thing? So I know that had to be satisfying for you to see that in the new games, that Johnny is like one of the main characters now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like how they developed the story. Back then in for the first two games, we didn't really have the technology to have really a story. It wasn't until later that the technology grew to that. But it's cool to see how the characters developed a little bit. Or for me, some characters are better than others. That's everybody's preference. That's why there's a lot of characters. You can find the one you connect with, or whoever it is, to be like, oh yeah, that's my character. But it's awesome. It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
And,
And definitely we can feel that.
Yeah, but I like
in the nuts.
And then there's that.
but yeah, was it John's idea to give Johnny shades, or was it yours?
We went out to buy the glasses to take pictures, because he's like, oh, and at the beginning, when you're going to choose your fighter, I want you to be standing there with sunglasses. And I was like, okay, cool. So we went to a local sport mart. It's not around, but we paid like $12 for those sunglasses. But when we were developing the game, I was just like, oh, I want to use them as an intro. John's like, you're going to not only show the character, but when you press the button, he's going to do an intro. And so at the beginning, I was just like, okay, I'm going to come out and I'm just going to wave. And then so we filmed that for a little bit. And John was like, you know what, you should add to that. Do something else, but just in case. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to come out, blow some kisses and make some muscle. And then so we filmed that, and John was like, yeah, that looks cool. That's good enough. And I looked at it and I was like, you know what, wait a minute, let me do this. So I went and got the sunglasses and came out like that, whipped out the sunglasses and put them on. And John laughed his ass off. And that became part of Johnny Cage's cocky personality. Was me started just to do. He started laughing in that, so I started doing everything like cocky. Everything that I did was cocky, or just while filming. And so later on, Johnny Cage is known as the cocky actor because that's how I portrayed him.
Right, beat somebody up and give him an autograph.
Right.
Oh man, but that's all like really cool stuff. And thing that I like, and I'll state it again, even the later games, it still holds on to that same heart that you guys put in, especially for those characters, like you said, with the posing and all of that good stuff. That reminds me of the newest game. Johnny Cage still does that, and that was something that you put in place all those years ago. And we could just tell, and that's why the game does so well, because you could just tell that it was a labor of love. So definitely, from me and everybody here, Mr. Pesina, we just want to say thank you for that gift, because it's so amazing.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Thanks for enjoying the work. And too, it's not anything unless somebody plays it. If you make something and nobody ever enjoys it, it's really nothing. We were really geeky about it, man. We were just so crazy, adding just whatever we want to it, paying homage to a lot of different movies that we liked when we were younger and growing up. Yeah, we got lucky.
Hey, and I want to also say like that the design for the ninjas, like that's such a cool design. Like I'm totally obsessed like with that whole. I don't know, like that was just a cool move to have them look like that. Like they look so cool.
They do.
Like I've drawn them so many times. Exactly. Even now, like we have to walk outside every day and wear a mask. I feel like Scorpion every day. Seriously, it is that deep. 100%.
It was. I always thought it would be a unique idea to do that. So it is. Especially the whole premise of the ninjas. It's always a mystery. They're always in toil. true warriors, like fighting, like life fighting, even though now we know their whole story. But at the time it was like, man, they were just at each other all the time.
No, definitely. And it just works. It's just really awesome. Once again, we haven't really talked about it too much, but one of the other things I wanted to ask you before we let you go was like, for your career, because I know it couldn't have been easy. What is the greatest lesson that you've learned, like on your path to become a master martial artist?
You know what it is even now, I think, especially with COVID, we truly can see that we are not only unique, we're so much alike. We're this flesh, we're all blood inside. Everybody, we are so much alike, but it's our spirit and the way we handle things that make us really unique and different. It's the actual inside that makes us different. We can overcome a lot of things if we put our mind to it. There's a lot of strife right now, and we're divided as people all over the world with this. Some people don't want to wear a mask. Some people want to wear a mask. And for me, my parents are older. I'm a big mask supporter because, I don't want to be the guy who kills your mother or your father or your friend. I'm going to wear a mask because I'm just not. I'm an asshole, but I'm not that big of an asshole. So, with all this stuff and divide of, especially with us, it's the human spirit can't be broken. Don't give up on your dreams or anything like that. The haters are always going to put you down. And that's just, you're not going to escape that. There are two different basically types of people. Some people that you can debate with and some people that you can't debate with. So it's just like life. If nobody wants you in your life, you got to have the courage to just step away and don't hate on them, but be like, dude, I can't talk to you. So I think that in this day and age, what martial arts has really taught me is you can do whatever you want if you put your spirit to it. And two, you got to realize that people are going to try to stop you, but you, guess what, ignore them or just keep going on. And sometimes they're not worth even your time. If they don't want to be in your life, don't give them any part of your life. Especially you have your dream. If you want to be a baseball player or a DJ or anything like that, you want to be it, you go be it. Experiment with it, create with it, because this life is short and you got to be happy. And to hell with everybody else who you just don't want in your life, and realize that some people you just don't want in your life.
Yeah.
Definitely, 100%.
100%.
Great advice.
Go be great.
I can agree. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I can agree with that.
There's some cool people out there. There's some assholes out there. But they're just mad at themselves. They're mad at themselves and going to take it out on you. And best to just not hang out with those guys or just try to avoid those people. To hell with them.
Yeah,
that is definitely a great take home. Wonderful advice from the one and only Master Daniel Pesina. Once again, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming out here and pretty much just making our childhoods like you made our childhood, Daniel. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
I'm speechless. Usually I'm good at this stuff. I can't talk. I'm speechless.
I can't either. This thanks for Johnny.
Yes.
Thanks for Johnny. I appreciate it.
We all appreciate him.
Get you guys in trouble.
Yes.
Oh yes, exactly.
Yeah. A lot of trouble.
Right. Exactly.
Look, even to this day, my mom will walk by while I'm playing it, and she'd be like, "I don't see how you can play that violent game. Like, what is wrong with you?" I'm like, "Mom, really?" She says, "It's just too much blood for me."
But it's only a game. It's not real. You're not running around shooting people thinking or anything like that. You're just playing the game.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
There's a lot of worse habits.
And at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun. And like I said before, the love that you guys put into it shines through 100%.
Yes, it does.
But before we head out, I would love for you to let all of our viewers and listeners know where they can find you on social media. Anything that you got going on right now, just put it all out there. Let them know.
Yeah, on social media, you can look for me on Facebook at Master Pesina. Instagram is Master D Pesina because I can't remember the password for Master Pesina. And Master Pesina is all just branding. People are like, I'm no one's master. It's just something given to somebody who has completed a level of martial arts, a mastery of martial arts. I have a lot of people are like, you're not in charge of me. No, I'm not in charge of you. But if you want to learn martial arts, I can help you out. So
There you go.
the project I'm working on lately is in August. I'm going to film a fan film. I'm going to UK and film a fan film known as Legends Never Die. It's what happened to Johnny Cage. He disappeared. When after the second Mortal Kombat, at the end of it is, oh, he disappeared. So it's going to tell the story of why he disappeared. And basically the Black Dragon clan, Kano's clan, finds me in the United Kingdom. And there's going to be a lot of gritty fighting, low budget, simple, but I think we're going to film it like The Raid. If you're a fan of a martial arts film.
Oh yeah.
Gritty, where people are actually getting hit in the face or getting hit in the body a little bit. Not so that's the project I'm going to do this summer.
Oh, cool. Definitely can't wait for that.
That's I look forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be cool. Good to see some more stuff on Johnny Cage. Right? I'm always down for that. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, guys, so no worries. We will put all of Daniel Pesina's information in the description below. And yes, guys, just like every week, guess what time it is?
Promotion.
The shameless promotion.
Yes, the shameless promotion. So yes. Amazing. Yes, guys. So we are the Square Round Table podcast. You can catch us every Friday on majorsonmusic.com at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Central time, and 1 p.m. Eastern time.
And you can catch us on Friday at any time, the Square Round Table podcast. And if you like the video, smack that like button. Comment down below in the doobly-doo about whatever's going on.
In the doobly-doo, right?
Share the video
on
that
the
helps
YouTube.
Because that helps us. Hit the notification bell underneath the video, get notification of this video and any videos in the future. And join that Facebook group. I know every single podcast, I know I come out here and I try to help you out and I try to get you in that Facebook group.
Please, guys, get over there.
Yeah.
Get over there.
When you see that button below, finish him.
Yes.
There you go.
There you go.
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah. Follow us on Instagram and all the other socials. You know where we're at by now. And leave us a comment about your first experience with Mortal Kombat, if you're fangirling like everybody else here, and anything else. We'll be there.
Definitely 100%, guys. And I would love for everybody, including our legendary guest for this evening, please introduce yourselves one more time before we head out. And my name is Chad Singleton.
Dmitri.
I'm Josh Singleton.
I'm Marcus.
Master Daniel Pesina. You got caged.
Awesome. Yes.
Awesome.
And this, guys, has been the Square Round Table podcast. We are out.
Deuces.
Peace.